What up, Space Fam? Goes in here for AnimeUproar, and unless you've been living under a rock with no internet connection, I'm sure you've heard that this latest development in Demon Slayer was the craziest yet, by far, so definitely stay tuned for that. If you enjoy seeing these chapter reviews and want to keep them coming, the best thing you can do is smash that like button and share this video with a friend. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial, hit that notification bell or you will miss future Demon Slayer chapter reviews, and you don't want that since we really seem to be approaching the crazy end. Keep in mind, there will be manga spoilers in this video. We are going to be talking about the latest chapter, chapter 200 after all. Now without further ado, let's jump into it. So last chapter we left off as baby Muzan was evaporating in the sunlight. Finally the big bad boss seemed to be defeated. So this chapter should be a happy ending, right? If you expected that, then you are in for a very rude awakening. That's not how this mangaka rolls. There are no quote-unquote happy endings after a war, which is what this pretty much was. Now we're going to see the aftermath of the fight, and it's unbelievably bad. This week, the Shonen Jump cover is deservedly dedicated to Demon Slayer. We see Tanjiro in the center. Again, they're showing him with normal eyes because his infected eye is not very attractive for the cover of the magazine. We see Nezuko back to human, that's what I'm talking about. And we see Muzan being mad, so the cover is teasing a bit that Muzan might have survived the last chapter. However, as we get to the colored pages of the actual chapter, we see that the sun is out and Muzan continues to disappear. We're even told that the enemy disappears, so this should finally be the end of this over 1,000-year-old Demon King of Pop. We get another page of some of the Demon Slayers and Pillars. This colored spread is actually a massive spoiler, but I'll come back to why that is later. This is chapter 200, and like I said, with such a big milestone like the 200th chapter, you know it's gonna be a big and important one. This chapter is called The Price of Victory, so we're going to get a sense of what defeating Muzan, the big victory everyone wanted, actually cost them. We start with Kiria crying, sweating, you know, the usual. With eyes wide open, he almost looks like he's in disbelief that after all this time, Muzan is finally dead. We see Muzan's lump of flesh continue to disappear. The members of the Demon Slayer Corps are also staring and in disbelief, like, I can't believe we did it, we actually killed Muzan. We get an overhead view letting us get some perspective here. Muzan's flesh is super small compared to the hole he made as a giant baby. I'm guessing they're gonna keep an eye on the flesh until it totally disappears, because with Muzan you can't be too careful. We see the damage that this battle had on the surroundings. We see the crumbling buildings, totaled cars, and the books that were used to slow down Muzan. Still love that they fought him with books. There's a metaphor in there somewhere, something like we can use books, both philosophy and stories, to help us overcome our monstrous fear of death, which Muzan represents. Then after the sudden shock of what's happened, the Demon Slayer members begin to cry and hug. They proclaim that they won, they took down Muzan. Tears of joy and relief fall from their faces, and you can't blame them. This has been a difficult battle, and they were not favored to win at all. And so, I think we'd all want to celebrate. That's what usually happens in stories, right? You celebrate beating the big bad boss. But the Demon Slayer mangaka is gonna challenge that convention, and quick. We jump to Kiria, who practically collapses from exhaustion but tells everyone to treat the wounded. The effects of this battle are nowhere close to over. The Demon Slayer members have to cut their celebration short. There are people saying that they have to save the wounded, and others saying not to cry, since they must stay focused now. After all, now that the battle against Muzan is over, the normal non-OP members of the Demon Slayer Corps are the most useful for healing the ones that took on the majority of the fighting. First, we see Gyomei. The Demon Slayer members want to help him, but he tells them not to waste the medicine on him since he's gonna die. This is a big blow, no doubt, but Gyomei was definitely set up to die. He's the oldest, and Upper Moon 1 Kokushibo even told him that since he awakened the Demon Slayer mark at 27 years old, he was definitely gonna die soon. In virtually all cases, people with Demon Slayer marks die by 25. The exception, of course, was the great Yoriichi, the strongest Demon Slayer in history. And indeed, it seems like this series will end with Yoriichi continuing to hold that title, which I like. But beyond Gyomei already being on borrowed time because of the Demon Slayer mark in his age, he also made it clear that he was ready to die, and then he even lost his leg and continued to fight until the end. This just sped up the inevitable. His final request seems to be for the Demon Slayer members to let him die and for them to find some young people to help. Although Gyomei is young at 27, in this series there's an ongoing joke that he's an old man, since most Demon Slayers, like our main characters, are considerably younger than him. Then, as Gyomei is passing over, he sees the orphans he took care of. Some important things get cleared up here. They say they always wanted to apologize for that day, meaning the day the demon attacked them. They said they weren't running away, they just thought that they had to protect Gyomei because he couldn't see. They were gonna get weapons and call for help. Ironic that kids were trying to save the strongest pillar, but he wasn't even a pillar back then and he didn't even know how strong he truly was. Gyomei listens as they apologize for kicking out Kaigaku, who led to the whole demon attack. And if you didn't know, Zenitsu's former senpai turned Demon Moon was in fact one of Gyomei's orphans. He's the orphan who was caught by a demon and traded the lives of all the other kids in order to survive. The other kids had chased him away because he was stealing temple money. Kaigaku is definitely one of the easiest characters to hate in this whole series, selfish and greedy right to the end. The kids explained to Gyomei that they would have explained everything if morning came as usual, but they died before it did. They cry, then Gyomei cries. Gyomei apologizes to them for not being able to protect them. They hug Gyomei and tell him how much they love him and how they've been waiting for him. The stone pillar thanks them and they go on to heaven together. Gyomei dies with tears of joy and a smile on his face. Definitely one of the most touching moments in the series thus far, but this is only the beginning of the insane emotional roller coaster that is this chapter. And since this was a major death, that's saying a lot. Next we see Mitsuri, who's being held by Iguro. I told you guys last time that the mangaka led us to worry about Mitsuri since we saw her get hit by Muzan, but we didn't see her after that. By the way, the fact that Iguro is holding Mitsuri in his arms is cute to see, circumstances aside. Mitsuri asks if they won and Iguro says that they did. Muzan is dead and she says thank goodness. Then we get unexpectedly depressing news. Best girl Mitsuri says her body doesn't even hurt, meaning she's going to die soon. I was telling you guys I thought that she would survive and I really hoped she would survive and that she and Iguro could live out a happy, boring ending in some farm somewhere or something. But it seems like it was not to be. The mangaka is not holding any punches. This is worse than Game of Thrones for me, it really is. Mitsuri at the young age of 19 is passing away. Iguro, after being blinded and almost eaten by Muzan, says he's gonna die soon too, so Mitsuri won't be alone. I told you guys before, and I'll say it again, this relationship hits me harder than Romeo and Juliet. It really does. Mitsuri says she doesn't want Iguro to die and apologizes for not being very helpful with tears in her eyes. Iguro is not having it and asks her not to talk like that. He asks her to remember the first day they met. From Mitsuri's perspective, she was but a burden to Iguro since she got lost and needed Iguro's help. But Iguro plays a reverse Uno card and says that it's the opposite. She helped him that day and the days that followed. She saved him. He liked that despite the tragedy of the world, keep in mind Iguro can be dark like Chicken Batman Fumikage, Mitsuri acted like a normal girl. He loved that despite the fact that she was a pillar and probably had a hard upbringing, she was so positive. She would get excited and smile over nothing. She had a bubbly air to her and she didn't let the suffering of the world get her down. When Iguro spoke to her, he really enjoyed it. It made him feel like he was a normal dude, which was always what Iguro wanted. He wanted to be normal and not someone who had corrupted blood. She made someone like Iguro smile and laugh, and Iguro is sure that she had the same effect on everyone else too. Iguro is pointing out here how there are more ways to help than just through strength and fighting. Mitsuri was endlessly bright and friendly, and in that way she saved a lot of people's hearts. Iguro tells her that she should be proud and that he won't let anyone speak bad of her, not even Mitsuri herself. There's a lot of truth to Iguro's words. Mitsuri helped in the fight, but she also helped make people feel better and even motivated Iguro to reach new levels of power that were indispensable in the fight against Muzan. After Iguro is done, Mitsuri cries in his arms. She says she's so happy and says that she likes Iguro, and yes, it's the I want to marry you kind of like. She says that the meals she ate with Iguro were the best, and she loved the way Iguro used to look at her so gently. She begs Iguro to take her as his wife if they're born again as humans. Oh man, the feels. Iguro says of course, and holds her closer as they both cry. And if you're like me, you're probably watering up too right now. They are both committed to doing better next time, to making each other happy and to not letting each other die. This confession of feelings was so satisfying, it's just so sad that they can't be together in this world. So yes, it seems like they're gonna die. They said as much. But significantly enough, we don't see them cross over, so we might hope against hope that somehow they're wrong and that they'll get married in this world. After all, Mitsuri seems pretty lively for someone that's just about to die. Next, we see Sanemi. He's already at the crossover point. He sees his siblings in what must be heaven. Then, he finds his mother and asks why she isn't going to heaven, but she says she can't. As a demon, she killed her children, so she can't go to heaven. Sanemi, being the absolute selfless mad lad he is, smiles and says that then he'll go to the other place with his mother. He says he'll walk through hell carrying his mother on his back. However, then Sanemi's dad shows up. He separates them and says that his wife is coming with him. Remember that his father was an abusive dude and he wasn't going to heaven either. Sanemi is angry at his dad telling him to let go of his mother, but he keeps falling backwards as he's told that he can't go to heaven or hell yet. Now, I'm not 100% sure here who says this, his mother or father, but the speech bubble does seem to indicate the father, and it reads, "Thank you for being my son." So one way of reading this is that his father was extremely abusive and deserves to go where he's going, but he's not completely without feeling for his son. He wants him to go on living and he's thankful for him. And we know that his mother feels the same way, that pretty much goes without saying. Sanemi regains consciousness and he's in terrible shape, but he's alright. Remember, Sanemi and Inosuke pretty much have immortality when it comes to their ability to bounce back from usually fatal wounds. Sanemi gets to live for now, but if the Demon Slayer curse mark does end his life at 25, then he only has 4 more years left to live. Keep in mind, the curse didn't kill Yoriichi, but Sanemi is definitely not out of the woods yet. We see Inosuke, who straight up bites a helper. The guys alternate between saying he's crazy healthy and dying. You know, usual crazy Inosuke. Knowing him, he'll be fine. Then we get to Zenitsu, one of my favorite characters in one of my favorite moments. It's funny, he just gets one panel, but it's great. He tells the Demon Slayer members that if he dies, to tell his wife Nezuko that he loves her. Someone answers, "She's not your wife." And he completely ignores them and just keeps talking with tears in his eyes. He wants them to tell her he was brave, and he's eventually interrupted by a guy saying he's talking just fine, meaning he'll be fine. Keep in mind, Iguro and Mitsuri seem to be talking a lot too, so that should give us some hope there as well. I wondered why we didn't see Zenitsu and Inosuke get Demon Slayer marks, cause that would have been pretty hype. But my guess is that the mangaka wanted them at least to have full lives, so she somewhat nerfed them, so they could have a happy ending, and I'm totally okay with that. We then jump to Giyu. He's in bad shape too, and the helpers tell him not to move, but he keeps looking for the other half of his bromance, Tanjiro. He wants to know if he's safe and he can't even wait to get his treatment. This is by far the climax of the chapter and the most WTF unexpected moment in Demon Slayer. We see Tanjiro and he's not moving. His head is down and he's being held up by a helper. The helper is crying, saying that Tanjiro is not breathing and that he cannot get a pulse. There's a lot of crying too. Giyu gets an image of a young, healthy Tanjiro smiling his bright, hopeful smile. And contrasting that to the current reality is too much. The usually stoic Giyu is overcome by tears. He puts Tanjiro's sword down as if telling the corpse that the battle is over, he doesn't need to fight anymore. Giyu continues to cry, saying that once again he couldn't protect Tanjiro. Giyu says that he's only protected by others and asks for forgiveness. Obviously, Giyu gave it his all and even lost an arm in the process, but he can't help but feel disappointed in himself. This senpai couldn't save his young protege. We have helpers saying they're sorry to Nezuko, who's finally shown up. She's crying and running towards Tanjiro. We're told that the price of victory is too great, and indeed, it seems to be greater than anyone could have imagined. And that's the end of this chapter. Okay, so I know you're probably thinking, WTF? A protagonist dying in a Shonen Jump battle manga is definitely a situation that few people saw coming. I can't think of one Shonen Jump battle manga I've read where the protagonist dies for good, let alone a 15-year-old protagonist. But Muichiro did die in this series, and he was even younger, so age is definitely not gonna stop anyone kicking the bucket here. Now, is the series over? No. There will be more chapters, even if only one more, that helps wrap this up. We haven't seen Iguro and Mitsuri cross over. We haven't seen Tanjiro cross over either. You can bet we'd see him reunite with his family if he's really dead for good, and he does seem to be, unless we get some equivalent of Pokemon Tears reviving him. Shout out to Pokemon the first movie. There is still a lack of finality about Iguro, Mitsuri, and Tanjiro's death. What does seem to work against us is the colored spread that I referred to earlier at the beginning of the chapter. If you look at it again after reading the chapter, you'll notice that all of the guys on the right side, Gyomei, Tanjiro, Mitsuri, and Iguro, are supposed to die or be dead, and they're all smiling, aka at peace. However, on the left, we have characters like Nezuko, Sanemi, Giyu, Inosuke, and Zenitsu, who we know will survive and who are not smiling because they're probably mourning over the fallen. This cover spread, along with the facts of the chapter, lead me to believe that Tanjiro could be dead for good, and Mitsuri and Iguro could cross over soon too, unless there's some strange rule like some people just get reborn right away rather than going to heaven or hell, but I doubt there would be that inconsistency with the portrayal of the afterlife. So there you have it. We have every reason to believe that our protagonist Tanjiro is dead and that Mitsuri and Iguro could die, but also a bit of hope that it's not final yet. We'll have to wait and see, but at the very least, we should see an at-peace Tanjiro reunite with his family and Nezuko and Zenitsu getting married. I hope the mangaka at least gives us that. Let me know what you are thinking right now. Are you sure that Tanjiro is dead? Is there a chance of Mitsuri and Iguro surviving and having an idyllic country life together, at least until 25 years old if the Demon Slayer Mark curse still applies without demons? So many questions left to be answered, but man, the mangaka is holding no punches. Was defeating Muzan necessary? Yes, it was, but it still sucks to see the aftermath. It truly is heart-wrenching, as many of you told me it would be before I read it. Whatever happens, it's been worth the ride. And if we look at characters like Gyomei, Iguro, and Mitsuri, their end wasn't ideal, but they were happy in the end. And I think that's important to keep in mind. Anyways, that's it for this unbelievable, mind-blowing chapter. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed these chapter reviews and want to keep them going, the best thing you can do is smash that like button and share this video with a friend. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial, ring that notification bell or you will miss the last few chapter reviews. A special thank you goes to our patrons over on Patreon who help us survive YouTube issues and who help make videos like this one possible. First and foremost, I want to thank the legend acknowledged by Lord Twigo Senpai-sama himself, Baby Ray, and the 1-tier patrons, the ones who stand atop all clans, Steven Ingrata, Alola Natem, The World, Steelers, The School Bus, Tyson Quarino, Acquire Respect, Pate Heffa, and Chris Low-Key, and our Pro Hero tier patrons, the one and only Gilgamesh, Nothing But a Fan, Jason Wilson, Odin, Anatoly Kazatsky, Alpha Dio, Angel Cruz, Team Sparky 65, Rohan Kapoor, Cricket XP, $50 Beat, Ted No Ted, Jalter, Joe Stanton, Very Gucci, Jessica K. LaFawn, Alicia Actor, Levi, Emperor Otaku, and JCC Waka. Thank you all so much. If you enjoy our work, you can support more of it by going over to patreon.com/AnimeUproar and becoming a patron today for as little as $1. If you do so, you'll get your name featured in future videos alongside these amazing epic people right here, and you'll even get access to our private patron-only Discord, where we talk about anime, life, and of course, dank memes. So check out patreon.com/AnimeUproar, link in the description if you're interested. You can also now join the YouTube channel and support more content that way if you prefer. Whichever way you choose to support us, you can get the same great benefits. Thanks again, and until next time, see you, Space Cowboy.